Good evening, I am walking about. Welcome to another episode of the Inquisition with tonight's guest, Nubricon, not Nubicon, Nubricon, yes. Waiting for people to tell us online. Great, cool, let's get this going. How are we all doing? We good? I am hosting tonight. It'll be myself and Dunk. And speak of the man, he is. And there we go, accepting him. Dunk should be joining at some point. So, yes, if you haven't had a chance, don't forget I was on St. Celestine 2023's live stream last night. And it was, it was all right. Let's get the guest of today into the stream and we'll get going. There he is. Hello, Shane, mate. How you doing?
All right, mate. Not too bad. Sorry for the voice. I have got the lurg, so.
Oh, that's fine. The lad's got it at the minute, so if you hear anything sounding like a chimney stack going off, it's him coughing his guts out. So don't worry about that.
If you hear any background noise, that'll be my youngest. My missus has just gone to pick up the older two, so. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. As long as
Youngest
it's.
is upstairs, just reading at the minute, but yeah, he should already be asleep, but. We had
They do like dragging out their bedtimes, don't they?
Well, we had a big. My youngest, he's obsessed with monster trucks. So, like the Monster Jam replicas and stuff.
Yeah.
There's just. Do you know what? It started off as a great idea because we sort of started buying them going, oh, you know what? For these, hang on, let me get one.
Apologies for being late. I'd actually speaking to the missus about you being late, and then I was like, "Oh no, it's 7:30."
I was on time. Fuck you.
Yeah,
right. I can
so look at
can
that.
hear you.
Like you start off, and you think, you know what? These aren't bad for a tenner. And then I look through his cupboard, and that's just the big ones. He's got all the small ones as well. And then you go, hold on a minute, he's got like 38 of these. Like, that's 380 quid gone, like, over the years. But it is something he's obsessed with, and we were having a big old tournament earlier in the living room, so he's a bit hyped when I took him to bed, so that's why he took longer to go down.
No, mate, don't worry, you're not alone there. My lad's the same with Mario Kart Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
I swear he's got 5 different colour Yoshis, 3 different colour Toads, 4 Shy Guys. It's ridiculous. He sees them, he's on them. And it's partly my fault because when I first saw one, I was like, oh, they look cool. I bought a Donkey Kong for myself. Like, yeah, that's great. And then he's just been at them ever since. So...
Yeah. I think companies have really got on that. Like, I think Pokemon was the first.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was other ones before, but Pokemon really like pushed the limit of like this concept of no, just collecting this thing is just part of it. And then like we all just sort of went, it's not a giant thing to get us to buy new merchandise every 5 seconds. Like, oh, okay. And I fell for that because I've had just about every Pokemon game there is. But yeah.
Well, that's actually something I was going to ask you about later on, the Pokemon stuff. So let's not get too carried away tonight.
Yeah.
So, welcome to this episode of the Inquisition. Thank you very much for coming along. First question that we always start off with is, how old were you when you first started getting involved in all the world of Warhammer and fantasy stuff and all of that?
So the first involvement at all with it, I was probably around 9 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
So a mate's older brother collected. Can you hear my cat? Hang on.
No, you're all right.
Hold on, just 2 seconds. Get out. An older brother of a mate of mine. He was into it first, and then I was like, oh, like this is. And then I remember watching him paint them one day, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And he had this like sort of like it was a display cabinet, but it was kind of like a weird one. It kind of reminds me of one of those ones, you know, when you see like a samurai sword, like about that height, like waist
Yeah.
height, like one of those. And he kept all his in there, and I just remember looking at them like loads of times. And then I said like, we had a hobby shop in Yeovil. And I only knew
Hmm.
about it because my dad used to like when he was a kid he used to love Airfix and that. And I think my granddad and that were going to chuck it all out, and he brought it over my house because he brought it back to our house because he thought himself, well, if it's going to be chucked in the bin, might as well let the kids destroy it on the way out. So yeah, he took a load to the hobby shop for him to look at, and then I was like begging him, please, can I have some of this for my birthday? Please, can I have it? And then I think it wasn't long after that I got my first bit of it. Um, and then it just sort of escalated from there because we moved house, and then we moved from a small village to like a bigger town when I was a little bit older, and then like there were more and more people that played it there,
Hmm.
so therefore then your exposure suddenly doubled,
Yeah.
or tripled even. And then I, at the age of 10, the way I know that most schools are much different with their age range, but the way it is around here, we actually have primary school, middle school, and high school. So it's not
Hmm.
just the two. So at age 10, you move up to like the middle school. And I remember at middle school, there were kids who were like in the library at lunchtime who would play Warhammer because there was a guy, oh, Christ knows his
What?
last name, but I distinctly remember there was a guy called Otis, and he had loads of orcs. Like, and I remember seeing because all I'd seen before were the smaller sort of Space Marine models, and then seeing a killer can up close, and for the first time, that was like, oh my god, I didn't realize there was this much of this stuff. Um, and I think one of those guys pointed out that, oh yeah, like 'cause we were like year 5 at that time, we were like trying to survive in the new middle school and stuff like that. They were like, oh yeah, there's actually a section of Warhammer books in the library and
Oh,
comic books, and we're like, oh my god. And then yeah, just like every time we had an opportunity to take a book, we were like, right, one of those. I remember reading that. You know the it's a classic now. The Thin Chaos Codex with a picture of like really blocky faced with
yeah.
the pipe coming into his face and stuff. I remember reading that about 10 times over that book. That book was probably haggard just through me turning the pages repeatedly.
No, I remember that one. I think that was like the very first third edition
Yeah,
codex, maybe. Like
yeah,
just a
yeah.
big
I think
snarling face, wasn't it?
it was weird. Third edition, like with this hobby, there seems to be editions that like seem to be launch pads or revamp. And eighth in particular was, I remember everybody like here, like I was out of Warhammer at that point. And I remember hearing everybody whinge how bad seventh edition was. Like they hated like this alliance chart. And then eighth, even though that because they dumbed it down, that was a launchpad moment. And I think third edition very much was another one of those launchpad editions because
Yeah.
around that time, I remember just go like from that point the amount of books like codexes you could get. Do you remember one of my favorite ones, all time favorite ones? If they sold it now, we'd all scream bloody murder because we'd say it's an outrage that you're charging because it was literally 3 data sheets, but they did it for the Assassins um,
Yes.
Codex. That was one of the best books they've ever released. That one,
Yeah.
it was so
Came
good, and
free in a White Dwarf.
the artwork was so good in that book. Yeah, and I remember like I actually remember having it. I think it was probably like year 6 or 7. Uh, me and 3 other friends had quite a heated debate over which assassin was best. Like I vividly remember that being in a French lesson, and then the teacher
That's
just being
it.
like, "Can you not shut up?"
Who needs to speak French when there's more
Yeah,
important
yeah,
things to
exactly.
discuss? So, just going back on all of that, what was that first thing that you picked up and painted?
So the first thing I got bought for me wasn't actually 40. No, it was. So the first thing that got bought for me was a set of like a small tactical squad, like the
Yeah.
standard, the 5-man tactical squad. I think because my parents just was like, "Oh, all right, we're getting him something, but I'm not going to get him anything big because he might just like flit about and give it up after 5 minutes and leave it." And then not long
Yeah.
after, I had my birthday, and then I was like, and it was I remember it literally being no, it was Christmas, sorry, literally being the last 2 presents, and I was thinking, like, I don't know what this is. I have no idea what's in this box. Heard that distinctive rattle, and I was like, no, they haven't. They haven't bought me Warhammer. And I opened it, and I had a box of, because I was keeping on about Warhammer Fantasy at the time, and I got a box of zombies and a box of the Skeleton Warriors for the vampire
Yeah.
counts. And yeah, yeah, it was so weird. Like in the house we were in at the time, our garage was sort of at the end of the garden,
Hmm.
and the rabbits were down there. Like we had pet rabbits in a hutch out there, and I like these rabbits must have been wondering what the hell I was doing because like I had no. My parents were very much like, "Oh, you're not spilling paint in the house. You can like go do it outside or something like that." And it was freezing in December, so like it's ice on the ground. So in the end, all I ended up doing was literally using the rabbit hutch as my painting desk, and I'd just be out there occasionally sticking a dandelion leaf in the rabbit hutch, and then just going back to painting again, like out in the garage. And then I remember my dad coming out like with a thermos flask of tea and being like, "Yeah, you need to have something warm. It's freezing out here." Like, I was like, "No, I can get another couple done. I know it." Like, but at the time, it was like obviously nothing crazy. Uh, it was literally a case of you saw the colors on the back of the box and you just sort of use
Yeah.
those as a rough guesstimate of what you were doing. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I didn't. I remember the first time actually happened through that zombie box that an older friend of mine said to me, "You need to like try priming." Like I said, "Oh, they don't come out like they are," and he's like, "Oh, have you heard of priming?" And he explained the concept to me. So I went home and my dad was like, "Oh, I've got it's not Warhammer, but I've got a can of acrylic paint." So we sprayed them all, and then yeah, obviously it made painting so much easier and better quality. But yeah,
It's good that you had your dad there who had that background knowledge. Because when I started
yeah,
off, everyone in my house was just like, "What are you doing, you lunatic? I'm painting in a room with like shut windows in the middle of December. The heating's on, the super glue's up. I'm high as a
yeah.
kite." But yeah,
So
so
true
um,
story. The next Christmas, I got a because during that year, like following the Warhammer Fantasy, I wanted to do Warhammer Fantasy, but I also wanted to do 40k. The next year for Christmas, I got a Razorback tank,
oh yes,
and it was a big kit. And I remember it being expensive at the time. And my dad was like, "Oh, do you like?" I could see he was like chomping at the bit to like sort of help because like he used to do all that sort of stuff. So he's like,
yeah,
"Oh, do you need some help?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And at the time, because I had like so many other presents at Christmas, I was like doing that. And then he would sit down of an evening putting this Razorback together, and he just ended up doing it all. To be fair, and it did look really good. He was
yeah.
kind of got to the end and he was like, "Do you want to put some transfers on?" Yeah, I helped.
Yeah,
Yeah, so yeah,
I had a Lego train station that was like that. I got it for my birthday. I was absolutely buzzing. Came home from school ready to build it, and my dad had already done it. And he was like, "Here you go. You can put the stickers on."
yeah,
It's like, "Fuck you." But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
To be fair, nowadays Lego sets, the older two, like they've had to ask for a couple of those Lego Technic ones, and
yeah.
I do think the same. And then I get like look at the instructions, like you know what, lads, you're big boys now. You got this. Yeah, I don't want to commit the next 3 weeks of my life into this one Lego kit for Christ's sake.
So just touching on your painting
Yeah.
and everything, and this is a new question that we're introducing following on the discussion with me and Dunk last week. Coming from your journey of using those very first paints to where you are now, what is your current range of paints and brushes?
So brush wise, I do like some of the army painter brushes, um, for the triangular handles. I quite like some of those for
Mhm.
detail. Um, the I have got some Citadel brushes, and then the rest of them are just sort of like hobbycraft brushes that I picked up.
Yeah.
There's nothing fancy about me. Generally, the way I always look at it is, um, if you can take the little cover off and have a quick feel of the tip, that this is sounding wrong. But yeah, if it's got that like waxy feel to it, I generally just put it back because
Mhm.
I always think to myself like those brushes. Whenever I've had them before, like there's nothing wrong with cheap brushes at all. Like I've had some really good ones off Amazon that people have just picked me up, but if it's got that waxy feel, like a lot of the time I find that like those ones, because the way I sort of straighten the bristles back out again is I literally dunk them into boiling hot water for like 10 seconds and then smooth them out again. But I find with those ones that have got like waxy films on and things, that when you do that, it literally melts the glue, and that waxy film might be the glue that they use to like adhere it to the stick. But yeah, I generally avoid that. Paint wise, if I'm honest, quite boring for a lot of it. Like Citadel is my sort of standard to go to. I am obviously, if you saw my stories earlier, really loving Turbo Dork paints at the minute. But these are more for like they're going to be more for like the metallics and things. The color shift paint, I haven't had a lot of success with at the minute. I don't know if you saw in the story the blue one. That's actually supposed to be a pink and blue color shift one, but it's nothing to do with their paint. It just with that paint, it's better applied with an airbrush, which is something I wanted to learn to do for a while anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, metallics. I'm sticking to Turbo Dork. Sprays. I like MIG a lot. MIG sprays a lot. I've gone off of Citadel sprays pretty much completely, thanks to their Wraith Bone. Like initially, I first thought it was a bad batch, and then literally every can of that I've had has been trash. So MIG, although like everybody's ranting and raving about Colourforge, so I'm gonna have to pick that up at some point. That's just inevitable. But yeah, MIG is my standard go-to for sprays and varnishes if I use like matte varnish, and that two thin coats as well. I picked up a few of those, and I was like, yeah, I can see this replacing all my Citadel ones eventually. Because the Citadel ones, I find there are a lot of good colours, and the bit I love about Citadel is I know the colour names. So when I'm thinking of a colour, I go, right, I know what type of gold that is. But then I've come across so many bad ones, like Celestra Grey, that you leave that pot open for longer than 15 seconds, you're like, right, well, that's now useless. Like the whites, there's generally not a lot of great whites, although I must admit, since they've changed to the Citadel colour brand, quality seems to have improved a bit. Like if you look at the can of white scar spray compared to the Wraithbone, the white scar is infinitely better. Like it's so much better. So they've obviously learned from their mistakes, but the two thin coat stuff is so good that I'll probably end up switching to that. It'll probably be a mixture of that and Turbo Dork, I reckon. Yeah, Turbo Dork is just very wacky. I will say I've learned a lot painting these taster models. Like it, if you're gonna try Turbo Dork, do it on top of black primer. It comes out better. B, don't be upset when you put the first layer on. You go, well, that's done nothing. It will take 3 to 5 layers. And if you use an airbrush, I get a feeling it's going to be a lot better. But I have also been warned by somebody. I was watching it on the YouTube video that you definitely, if you're airbrushing these, you do need to wear a mask because they give off quite quite a chemical in the air apparently. But yeah, they like the taster model I showed off earlier. Like that purple is pretty outrageous.
That actually looks really good.
And like the this one I doled down a little bit too much with Agrax, but like the greens, the metallics in the greens. The reason I like that color a lot is because I can see I used it on one of my Storm Fiends, and you can see like that fits well with rust. That sort of color and the sort of water staining. But I do like the purple a lot as well. But yeah, that's what I think I'm going to be going to is those two paints, and just I love the dripper bottles as well. Vallejo, like I know I didn't touch on Vallejo. Then I've had a lot. I've had a few Vallejos, and I had a lot of success with them. The only one, and as much as I like the brushes, the only one that I've not had a lot of success with is Army Painter. I bought a can of their ironically named matte black spray. So like they marketed it as matte black, and when I sprayed it over, I was kind of like, hold on a minute, like this generally looks like I've sprayed black and then sprayed a layer of cooking grease over. Like, what about this is matte? Like it was really bad. But again, it could have just been a weird batch. I say that about a lot of things. The only one I don't say about is Wraithbone, is because I've literally had so many cans of that, and every time I tell myself, "Oh, don't worry, it was just a bad batch last time," and every time it's just as bad. It's awful.
Right. I think you're right with the army painter, because I bought this monstrosity.
Yeah, that's the
Death
stuff.
Guard,
Yeah, that's the stuff. Yeah, yeah, I
the
bought that.
Death Guard, the Death Guard Green one, and it's just like it just takes away like a lot of the detail,
Yeah,
like for like
it
models
fills
and that.
in gaps as
Yeah,
well. And I noticed when I don't know if you've noticed this, but when I was spraying it, I almost noticed like stringy stuff coming out of it.
yeah,
Like, and there's a definite like residue. Like you get the feeling that if you didn't clean the can after use, like that would definitely be blocked the next time you come back to use it.
yeah.
Yeah, I again, I know people that use it and they really like it, but I've just never got on with Army Painter, to be honest. It's just been a bit hit and miss.
So this is something that I struggle with. And it's maybe because like I'm a relatively new painter. Uh, do you find it yourself that you use one brush to paint an entire mini when you've got like 1,000 brushes sitting there and you just specifically use one
Oh,
brush for an entire
I
mini?
know exactly what you mean. Hold on.
Yeah, I'll do that. Don't worry, you're not alone.
So,
I'm new.
yeah,
See right now, I'm painting my grey nights, and I actually caught myself on using the Army Painter Precision brush, right?
yeah,
Insane detail one, right? Which is probably got about 2 bits of hair in it to try and base layer the grey on my
yeah,
fucking grey night.
yeah. So, yeah, because you have a good session with a brush and you think you're doing well. A bit like a football manager, like, you know what? I only brought him on like as a rotation player, but he's done
Yeah,
well. I'm going to keep him on. But yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean because I get a feeling. So I've got like this little ex jelly bean tub thing that I keep a load of brushes in, and now I look in here. I swear I've got that brush about 3 times over. Um, and yeah, I do the same. Like, uh, so I've started trying like because I've been doing scathing recently. I've been trying to like do a bit more batch painting, which can be a bit soul crushing. So I've sort of like lined my brushes out like, oh, you're going to need all those. And when I'm doing it in segments like that, I do tend to switch brushes a bit more. But I definitely, yeah, I definitely do that a lot. And I definitely buy the same brush over and over again, convincing myself, oh, I need a new one of those. And then I get home and I've got the exact same brush. And I go, oh, just don't tell the missus that one then.
like I've got Green Stuff World Gold Kolinsky hairbrushes, and because I'm a tight Scotsman, right? I've still not used them because I'm scared that I'll end up ruining them. So they're
It's like,
just sitting in this like Army Painter wet palette, like top pick, so I've been the
yeah,
other bit, and they're just sitting there with another 8 or 9 brushes that I'm just not
yeah.
like going to use.
I'm not going
Like,
to touch it because I might need that in the future. Yeah, I'd like the other one is the classic when you hear like you'll hear like a life hack. Oh, well, it's a hobby life hack. Go out and go nick your missus' makeup brushes and use them to dry brush because it'd be so much better. And then cuts to you 10 minutes later, dry brushing your tank, and your missus just walks in the door like, "What are you doing with my expensive makeup brushes, you dick?" Yeah, so it turns out it's not a life hack; it's some cruel trick that somebody's played on you, obviously. Um,
one of the things that I hate to see, and is I fall for it all the time. It's like, do you want your mini to look like this? And it shows you this like pure brown, like painted mini.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah. And it starts off with the guy like brushing, like with his paintbrush, and you're, oh man, this is really going to be up my street. 8 minutes into the video, he tracks out the airbrush.
yeah.
Nah, that's me.
Yeah. Or you find people be like, oh, another one that's good at this is like some of these like pro painters. They'll be like, I've just found a way that you can instantly paint your army in like 12 hours. You can paint like 50 minis and they'll be at this standard. And at no point does your brain go to you, yeah, but that's a professional painter. It'd
Yeah,
be a bit like a bricklayer going, I can put this wall up in 20 minutes and I'll show how. And if he's being honest with you, his secret trick is he's a bricklayer. That's why he's good at it. That's why it came out well. Like, yeah, I do see like I do
It's
like
like,
models where they've got their own like flavor to it, where you can see like a certain painter's done a certain thing. Like I know that one of the people you've had on, who I think's got a very like his own very distinct flavor is Orc Daggers is
mhm.
Darren. Yeah, his painting, I love what he does with it. Like the way he does the rust and makes them look all rusted out and stuff like that. But those are the sort of ones those are the videos I sort of more listen to. Do you want your models to look a bit like mine? Yeah, that's probably better. Let's not believe in the yellow brick road quite yet.
Wh-
Um,
One of the worst things I've found myself watching is people that paint their models and they end up looking like they're out of comics. I'm
oh,
like, and I
yeah,
convince,
there's like the
and I convince,
Borderlands style stuff.
yeah, I can
Yeah,
convince myself that I can definitely do
yeah,
like a couple of Death Guard like that.
yeah,
No, I can hardly prime a model, never mind putting thick black lines and making it look as though it's like a comic book.
yeah.
What YouTube traps have you fell down yourself trying to imitate?
Um, I what ones have like so again, I feel bad for mentioning this one because I know loads of people use it and I know loads of people it works out really well for them. But I don't think Slap Chop is quite the Swiss Army knife that everyone makes it out to be because there's some models I've used it on is great, and other models like it's just come out like, and I've gone, this is just a shiny mess now, like, and I'm gonna have to redo that. So there's those where I've like listened to people going, yeah, this will work, that will work, and then you're like, oh, he's just clearly a better painter than I am. That's how that works. But the other one was some genius was like, oh, and I can't believe I fell for this one either is he had this really cool way. Like he had this. It was when I was doing some high fleet cracking Tyranids, and he had this thing, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, to get blood splatters all over them, and to get like so the actual blood started to like globulate or like on the model, like it was there were globs of it everywhere." So I was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds awesome. Like I'll do that." Um, and he was using like a hairdryer. He basically got blood for the blood god, and then he was like hair drying it through this like nasty looking brush thing. And then I was like, that looks amazing. That's bound to work. What could possibly go wrong? Yeah, it turns out quite a bit. It can actually like just melt the paint off your model and instantly dry blood for the blood god on a brand new dry brush, which is now useless and that never comes off. So that was good. The other one was the other one wasn't really one that I fell for. It's one that I've learned over time, which is the whole method of stripping models that you don't like. Go out and buy this expensive paint stripper that like stuff to do it. Just go to B&Q and buy a bottle of methylated
Yeah,
spirits. It works so well. And the best bit about methylated spirits, unlike that other stuff, is you're not on a time limit. I like when I did my first Tau army, the reason I did that army was because I wanted to prove that you could do an army on the cheap to a mate. So I bought that 2,000 point army, and bear in mind I had two Riptides in that as well in that list. So I did it for under 150 quid. I just bought badly painted models, and I got a big sort of one of those sort of storage drawer things with a lid. Just bought about 5 bottles of methylated spirits, put them all in, and literally just left them there. And then when I was ready to strip one, I just take one out, and and some of them had been in there for like 3 weeks. And like as soon as you got the toothbrush on them, the paint just came straight off. So there was no time limit. So that was realizing that I'd wasted quite a bit of money on paint stripper. That was another one that I fell for. Or the other one was using Dettol.
I loved
I
it. I
Yeah,
loved it.
I couldn't get it to work. It didn't work with me. I
Dell
could
for me work.
it just it yeah it was I must have not been using it long enough or something because it just wouldn't come off.
I was
I
I
there
was
was
I was in Dell for about a week, and
Yeah,
oh
then
right yeah that's probably
I just
why then I
blasted
left
it
it in
with
there
hot
for
water.
like
Then
I left it in there for
no,
like a day, and then there was a genuine moment about when I'd left it in there for about 3 hours. There's a genuine moment where I took it out, started to use the toothbrush, and was like, "Hang on, is this just a piss take? Like this?" It's like, wait a minute, this cannot be right. Like, But yeah, there's loads of ones like on YouTube that I've seen that have really great advice. There's that guy who uh, weirdly enough chose to put the name Hipster in his name, War Hipster,
Yeah.
on
Yep.
YouTube, and he does exclusive, like pretty much mainly contrast painting now, and his models come out so well, like they look so good, some of them, and you see he's actually making that more accessible, like, so that makes it easier. But yeah, I do think like there's a lot of the things, like at the end of the day, like you could look up speedways to do this, speedways to do that. Pete the Wargamer is a great example of, if you want a model looking good uh in a short amount of time, he does great speed painting series. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you want them to be as good as they can possibly be, there is no substitution for just practice and time. Unfortunately, there's no short way around it. Like there are ways that you can get, if all you're interested in is like them to be on the tabletop, that's completely understandable and completely fine. And there's ways of doing that. But if you're like looking for, with mine, a lot of my armies have unfortunately met the eBay chopping block, because a lot of people tell you this if they know me. If I get bored of something quick, I'll just get rid of it and just do something else. And I've done that with loads of armies now. And like with my Night Lords, I love my Night Lords. They're still my favourite army, and I will be doing them again. But there were mistakes in that army that I'd made, and I didn't really kit bash enough, and I didn't do this, and I was planning to do that, and I never did it. And those sort of things will just sit and niggle at me like a loose tooth, and then I'll just end up putting them on eBay and getting rid of them and just going like, and loads of people go, "You're mad!" Like, it's mental that you get rid of that much. But at the same time, if I'm not going to use it, somebody else is going to make better use of it. And I'll do it. If I want to do it again, I'll do it again. And I, like, usually, to be fair, I make pretty good money on them anyway, so it just funds my next project, to be honest. So um yeah, looking for other projects, but probably should go.
Maybe the stuff on eBay will be able to buy you a camera so you can take better close-up pictures of your models.
Yeah, I can explain that to you right now, actually, because where I take my models, so I've got my entire photo shoot suite here. It's really complex. Here you go. It's 2 pieces of black card, and whoever fitted this in the house before, this jankly ass lighting system. You can never, like, so, and because they're all at an angle, I can't go any, if I go any closer, I basically just cast a shadow over the model the entire time. And then I'm just sat there like going, this is such a pain in the ass. And then, so the other end of the room, I was like, all right, I'm going to fit an actual white light bulb down this one. And it turns out that I'm an idiot as well, because instead of buying a white light bulb, I bought a collapsed sun. It just, it's like a bloody tanning salon in here at the minute. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I do need to get an actual. I have actually got a DSLR, but then I always find like uploading photos to Instagram from a proper camera just takes forever, and I can never be bothered.
Richard,
Yeah.
Richard, remember, I know where you live, pal. I've got your address. I'm going to send a bag of poop to your house.
A flaming bag
I
of
mean, he's not wrong, though, is
Nah,
he?
nah, nah.
He's not. I mean, I can't even see you tonight, Dunk. So, you know, I know I'm not
I
It's
missing
can't.
quite
that much,
funny. I
but still.
actually could see both of you pretty well, to be fair. Like some
Well,
nights.
I can't see Nubitron. I was able to see him before I joined, and then I joined. And I didn't, I'm just looking at your pretty wee face, Casey.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. So, you're going back to your armies. Obviously, it sounds like you've gone through quite a lot. And I would say what you've touched on is something that a lot of people in the Warhammer hobby are guilty of, is hoarding
Yeah,
stuff.
I do that all
With
the time.
going onto your ventures on eBay, I mean, I've dabbled with it before. I've made a bit of money on stuff. I've lost a bit of money on stuff. How regular are you on there getting rid of bits and bobs?
All the time, all the time. Like there was a good example of where I like, because I've come back to Skaven now, so I'm getting a lot of my Skaven back. I lent a lot of my Skaven to a friend who was using it a lot, and I
Mhm.
wasn't using it, so I said, yeah, you can use that army. So a lot of it's coming back now. But basically, what happened with that Skaven bunch is, there's a friend and he was sort of moving away. He goes up, he's got he had every army under the sun. Well, I literally went to his house for the first time and was like, how are you not bankrupt? Like, what? I know that you work in Tesco, so how did you do this? Like,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's just crazy. Like, he had everything. And he was like, oh, I've got a Skaven army for sale. I said, oh, I've always wanted to do a Skaven army. They're like one of my favourite things about Warhammer, and I've never done, was a Skaven army. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm selling it for like 300 quid. And I was thinking, oh, it's going to be like a 2,000 point army. No. He had, it was about, I reckon in total, I got about, no exaggeration, probably if I was to add all the points together, probably about 14,000 points of stuff. There was 6 warp lightning cannons in it,
Bloody hell.
unmade. He had, but the bit that really made an absolute killing, that I didn't expect at all, and I did say to him at one point, "Do you want any of this money back? Because like I've made like quite a bit of money on this."
Yeah.
But he had in that, because he was like a classic hoarder. He had loads of really old Skaven models in there, and I was never going to use them. They looked really old, and unless you're into older models, you're not really going to want to have them. So I started putting these, like, so I had like these Skaven, and there was like Skaven from like the Hero Quest as well,
Hmm.
like some of those models, like the old proper old ones. And I started putting them on eBay, thinking I'm going to get a couple quid for these. And then it suddenly dawned on me at one point, like there was one of there was, I think it was a rat ogre sort of thing. And I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was, oh, look at this metal weird rat ogre. Put it on eBay, and I literally started the bid at 2 quid, thinking I'm going to make £2.50. I was like, and it was the first one I checked back on. I was like, hang on, the bidding's at 26 quid. And then I looked through everything I listed, and I'd listed like hundreds of things, and it was all just shooting up through the roof. And there was one guy, and I remember at one point I had a model, and it was I couldn't tell you what it even is now. I can't remember. But he instantly, like, I'd put it on there, and it was like all best offer, and I put it at 3 quid, and there was a best offer for 35 quid. And I was like, wait, who has this money to chuck around? But
Yeah.
yeah, like that's probably the best killing I've done on there. But like I've got, if if I'm not that attached to an army, I'll either strip it, repaint it, or sell it. I've got too many spares. I should probably, but again, like you with Dunk with the paintbrushes, I keep sitting there. It's like that classic with a spare button. If I throw this away, I might find the thing that this goes on. And like it's the same with just spare parts. I sit there thinking I could find something to kit bash this on, and I never do. It's all just sat out there. To be fair, it's usually out in the shed. But yeah, it's. I do use eBay quite a lot. I do. I don't think there's anything wrong with like picking up the odd. Like a load of people go, oh well, yeah, but if you buy a poorly painted model, that's a lot of effort to strip it. Blah blah blah. It is what you make of it. Is the
Yeah.
money more important to you, or is the time more important to you? If
Mhm.
you've got the time, great, then just do that and strip it. It's not. You don't ultimately lose any quality in doing it. It is just effort. If you're willing to put that effort in, then great. Like if you're not, then you're at the will
Yeah.
of GW's accountants again.
You're actually, as you're chatting that, I've sort of remembered that I put a Gene Stealer cult kill team together, and it was the sharpshooter guy, the Kellamorph or something with all the arms.
Oh yeah.
I was seeing that brand new for 30 quid on eBay, or like 35 quid in the stores and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not paying that for one
Yeah.
mini. Found one on eBay that looked like it had just been dipped in a pot of
Oh
red. It
yeah.
was layered
No.
on so thick. And I think I nearly broke one of the arms in stripping it. It was in the stripper for
That was a
so long.
weird model as well, that
Yeah.
wasn't it? Because that model almost felt like it was fine cast, but it wasn't.
Mm.
Yeah,
No, it's
I
really thin.
remember. Yeah, because I did the same. I bought a really poorly painted. I said the same. I am not paying 30 quid for one model,
Yeah.
especially when it's that big. No, but yeah, exactly what you said. Like it, but it was a weird model, that one.
So just on that then, when the way you've sort of your approach to it, I think is bloody brilliant, and it's something I'm a big fan of because, yeah, don't get it's great that there's so many different new products getting out there all the time. They're in the stores, they're in all the friendly local game shops and stuff. And it's always nice to support the smaller shops. But raiding eBay for a single every now and again, or just a really dodgy painted thing, for me is better. Do you think that maybe more of a community, as all of us all together, if we did that more, then potentially the companies would look at us and be like, oh, hang on, we're not making any money anymore because everyone's being cleverer. Should we start dropping prices a bit?
I don't know if we can influence them that much, because GW have consistently proven that they generally don't give a monkeys about what we think about prices, because they know that at the end of the day, if scalpers are willing to put that much money in to scam us even more, then they're going to make the sales at any point. But I do think that I do think as a community, it should be like more like promoted a bit more, like the second-hand market. Like almost like I saw a page the other day. There's a bit like I know there's Mini Swap on Reddit. That's a really popular one. And stuff like that. But like what you touched on there was, you said that there's loads of good new models coming out, and there is, but the way that GW release stuff, if it's not your army's time in the sun, it might be a little while before you're going to get a new model anyway. So you might as well make a saving and get that on eBay.
Yeah.
Like with me at the minute, the only reason like that everybody's noticed that I've made a shift to Age of Sigmar is that there's nothing I really want in 40k right now. So that's why I'm doing it. But yeah, and so I can afford to go like, oh yeah, with the Skaven stuff, the Warp Lightning cannon, I can pay that 30 quid up there, or I am going to find one for much cheaper on eBay, and I've got all the time in the world to wait. So it's, if I was a tournament player or something like that, then it'd make a lot more sense. I remember going to Warhammer World with Simon, and I remember watching people walk out of the shop having paid a shed load more than the literal local third party shop that's just down the road, and think to myself, like, I have some invisible friends that I might be able to interest you in. Like, just really, like, if you're gonna pay that much for that, then yeah, you'll pay for anything. But I do think that you like there is some like sort of, I don't think we could actually force them to lower prices, but I do think that it could force them to change tact a little bit. Because the point that I've made is like I know that the prices have gone up, but the bit that's really more callous with GW's processes recently for me is, if you look at even if you look at the box sets between 8th edition up to where we are now, if you watch that box, other than I'd say like Dark Imperium, look at how much you got in that box.
Yeah, massive.
And then you
isn't
have
it?
the box like the one where it was the Chaos and Eldar one, and you're like, hold on, I've got a Mauler Fiend that's not new, 5 Chaos Legionaries, and a Warp, and the Chaos version of the Tech Marine, and I was like, hold on, wait, I've got 6 units, and it cost more than Dark Imperium did. Like, I think it would force, the issue like that to make. I don't think they'd lower prices. What I think they would do is start pressing the more affordable gaming systems like Kill Team, Warcry, those sort of things. I think they would definitely start to be pushed more, because GW would be like, oh right, well, 50% of something's better than 100% of nothing. Which I quite like a lot of the Kill Team stuff, to be fair. I haven't been fortunate enough to play a lot of games. But yeah, I do like the models a lot. I've just got the blooded one, the one with the traitor guardsman with the big like sort of demonic ogre in it. I can't wait to paint him up as well. He looks really cool.
Yeah, I've dabbled with Kill Team, and like I say, I was got the Gene Stealer Cult one was 2 eBay rescues and a squad I bought for 20 quid. And the Space Marine one, just easy enough. I've got a Space Marine army, just take bits out of it. And I'm building a Mechanicum one, which the vast majority of I've got out of the magazines that they did. So, and that's another thing. Those magazines, when they come out, they're a bloody lifesaver, $7.99, and you get half a squad or a squad in it. And it's a
Yeah,
pain in the arse
and
they get scalped,
yeah,
but
they're all what they Hachette part works or something, aren't
yeah,
they? And they've done quite a few of them now. I missed out on some of them because um, actually talking about GW and them pushing things and stuff. Games Workshop. If you ever watch this video and you want to make 500 quid off of me tomorrow, quick tip: release different heads for Sisters of Battle. Just a few different haircuts in there. I'll buy an army tomorrow for you if you did that. But yeah, I really wanted to do the Sisters of Battle version of that, but I just never got round to it. Yeah, those magazines are great. They're a great way to get people hooked into the hobby as well.
yeah,
But you
I
go
think I
about.
think I think as well that GW don't really need to try now because
No,
the reason
this is
being,
this is
lot
the
lot
issue. This is the
lot.
issue, and you faced this before, Dunk, because I've seen you do it in the. Do you remember back along when uh, they released the stupid AdMech guy on stilts, and you made a comment, and literally that guy went ballistic at you over nothing. But this is unfortunately the problem that we're in at the minute. We've pushed GW. We've had it with the game system. We've put it on like it's such a high level for so long and protected it for so long that we've reached a level now that it's you can't criticize it without somebody jumping on you. And unfortunately, that's not good for the customer ever. Having a monopoly on a monopoly is never good ever. Even the bloody board game is never good, uh, without somebody flipping it over. But yeah, it stifles everything, and it brings out the worst behavior from them as well. Because like the joke that you made about that AdMech soldier, right? I guarantee the guy who designed that model said the same thing. Isn't this hilarious? Look at this model I've done because it's supposed to be daffy and stupid.
yeah.
But yeah, you can't be critical of anything.
Well, what I was going to say is, so what I was going to say is that the reason I feel that Games Workshop don't have to try anymore is lockdown brought a lot of people back. So I think,
He just said it there,
if
brand
anything,
power.
yeah, they just ramped
Yeah,
up. Like everybody started. Like I remember the very first thing I bought. I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago. Was the starter kit for that. But me being me, I didn't realise I'd ordered it in French. So I ended up getting a fucking French version. And it took weeks for it to come to fucking Ireland. But I was starting to lose the plot. And then when I got it, I was like, why did they send me it in French? I sent a strongly worded email to Whaling Games, and the guy emailed me back going, look at your order. And I sheepishly emailed back saying, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realise I was ordering in French. But like a lot of people I feel that a lot of people came back, and because of everybody, like all the middle-aged men coming back to their childhood hobby, like Games Workshop don't need to try. But as you said, when I made that joke about the guy in stills, like I remember one of the comments that guy, because he just wouldn't give up.
Yeah,
He's like, well, like that guy spent his weeks and time,
yeah,
and how would you like it
yeah. But
if you made something and somebody criticised it? I says, have you seen the paints that I fucking do?
yeah,
Like, my painting is
but
ridiculous. You know what I mean?
this I don't think it's just a hobby problem, but it's very much a like a social media problem. But yeah, the whole argument about, oh well, if the designer saw these comments, like he wouldn't be happy or something like that. But unfortunately, like that guy doesn't seem to realize that when you put a product on the internet, verbal criticism is as much a genuine review as anything else. And
yeah,
people will say, yeah, but if you don't put a stamp out to it, all people do is moan. Well, if all they do is moan, just don't listen to them. Like you can block those people out, but it doesn't mean that they don't get to have their say on something. I mean, if you're deliberately going out of your way to find a product, a person, or a company, and your only intention is to put them down and make them miserable, yeah, you're probably just an arsehole. But if you have a legitimate complaint to make about something, like if you go, all right, hold on, they've made that claim, or they've made this product and it's not very good, and I go, you know what, I don't actually like that. That's as legitimate as somebody saying, you know what, I really like that, and them seeing that balance of I like that and this is rubbish, is how they can probably make more better informed opinions. And but I don't think that works with GW. If you've ever tuned into a hobby live stream, um, and you look through the comments of the Twitch stream, and it just goes, oh, more Space Marines, what the hell, blah blah blah, this is rubbish, blah blah blah. And there'll be one guy that goes, I really like that, and they'll look at this one good comment, and goes, so much positivity on this stream, guys. Like, just, and you're like, oh, okay, we're playing that game, are we? Cool.
I remember when the APV came out and people hated it. Like,
Oh yeah,
for one, I'm not a Space Marine player, right? So I'm never going to buy Space Marine shite, right? I'm not a Mechanicus player because I just don't understand Mechanicus, so I'm never going to buy it. But I do like good looking models. And for me, I'm going to say, oh, that's a shite looking model, but Games Workshop could take a dump, right? Put a fucking helmet on it and a gun and release that, and people will buy it. People will slag it off, but you're always going to get people to go, no, but that's really good. Like, it's very fitting to that faction. And it's like, dude, seriously, like, you're just playing into the game that they have. And there is a page on Instagram, I think it's a forum called Bits Gaming that sells second-hand stuff as well.
yeah.
They look pretty decent.
You do get that. You do get that sense that like somewhere deep in a GW boardroom, they're going, right, what indefensible thing can we get them to defend this time for a laugh? It'll just be like, for me, like one of the main reasons I moved to Age of Sigmar at the minute is, and I'm not saying that I'm not having a go at anybody for playing 40k. I'm not saying that Age of Sigmar is better. I'm not saying any of that. Not making any of those claims. But the main two reasons that I sort of pulled back from 40k was, firstly, I thought the current lore is awful. I thought the Arcs of Omens, I couldn't get my head around that. I don't understand how you did such a good job in 8th edition with Psychic Awakening and like the Vigilus campaign from a lore perspective. I don't understand how you go from that to what seemed to be a shameless cash grab. Like, if you look at, like, for instance, like, I know I'm biased on this one, but the Farsight book in Arcs of Omen, it's a literal direct copy of Empire of Lies, like the Farsight book. There's no difference that happens. Why did you even release? Just give me the model. Um, and then like the whole, I don't like. I think I've made my opinions on the Lion very clear that he's my least favorite Primarch of all time. But yeah, so that's out for me. So I'm not interested in anything he does. Angron, I kind of find was a weird one. I love the model. I thought the lore, like the fact that he's come back as an absolute death mountain, is cool. The only bit I was confused about Angron is that in the lore, he basically uses a power that turns an entire chapter into berserkers, doesn't he? He basically unleashes some blood curse. And my one question is, Angron, sweetie, if you've got that power, just just start with that all the time. Just do that. Just do it all the time. Like, just don't do anything else. But I'm sure
I
they'll
think
put some
But
trope in.
maybe there's certain conditions that you can only use that certain power. It has to be a full moon. A dog has to cross a road. A cat has to chase a
Yeah,
mouse. I mean, there might be specific. It has to be every 17th Thursday or something. I mean, there must be specific reasons for. But then all they'll do is just say, "Ah, well, it's 40k. It's just how the law goes," and you just have to
yeah,
accept
and
it.
but they even like they released all the Commando Snickrock model.
Mm.
Poor guy didn't even get a look in. Like, if you were just going to repeat Farsight's story, just make it about Snickrock then, because like he actually had something you could do with him, and you decided to just ignore him pretty much. I didn't really. I get why people like the Vashtor model. He's not really one that I like very much. I didn't like. I wish they did a bit more with the face. Like made him a bit more. Yeah, he just looks a bit. In my opinion, he looks almost so awful. He starts to look cute again. Like
So
that
bad
sort
it's
of
good.
like just yeah, matey boy from the Goonies almost. Just to the point where you go, ah, poor guy. Um,
You've just plead some guy in the Games boardroom who's probably watching this going, there we go, boys, told you it would work.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
so
It
bad he's
works.
good.
Yeah, so that was one of the main reasons was the law, and the second point was the rules. So ninth edition was just I don't know what, like they had the play tester group, then they had to disband that because it seemed to make it worse, and like yeah, I'm not blaming anybody for what happened. Like all the playtester groups seem to say that GW didn't listen to them. However, I would point out that I don't think they're completely absolved of blame, because if you look at the competitive playtesters, theirs were the codexes that came out super overpowered. So go figures. Like they
Yeah.
must have had some effects in it, but that was one of the ones that that was one of the main reasons that put me off of that, was the lore and just ninth edition. I haven't really got into 10th edition too much because I've just been dealing with the Skaven quite a bit. But yeah, it's been a lot of people have been messaging me going, oh yeah, but what'll happen if 40k is really good now from now on? And I'm like, what, you think I'd cut off my nose to spite my face? Good. If it becomes good again, good. Like I'll come back. Like don't worry about it. I'm all ready to do that. Um, but yeah, it's waiting for it to get like at the minute. I'm just waiting for something that I'm interested in. The Kroot stuff looks really cool. I really want to have a go at that. I don't think I'd make a entirely Kroot army like everybody is saying. Um, to me, that kind of feels like, oh, I picked the one army, and what's it really good at? Shooting. And what's my strategy going to be? Melee. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, I am seeing some flaws in that plan, and I haven't seen any heavy weapons in those Kroot releases, so there might
Yeah.
be more. Uh, I found that new model they just released quite interesting. The one that sat on the lizardy
Yeah. Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
thing. That was really weird. That kind of looked like a 40k AOS crossover, but I didn't. He'll have to wait.
Yeah. I'm not feeling the crew stuff, to be honest with you. I've always sort of sat on the fence with Tau. I thought some of that. I think we've chatted about anime before, and big robots,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
The crew, meh. The Vespid, meh. And then the Fire Warriors, just not for me.
I, I
But
I must admit I do like the new crew models. It's just I'm not. Yeah, like the one bit like everybody's like fellow anime fan or whatever, but it's like a load of people are like, oh yeah, I hate all the mech stuff. It's like every anime fan's like, really? I'm only here for the mech stuff. Like it just
Are you still
don't you
there?
know?
yeah, still yeah.
I thought you actually like cut off there some. So just leaving the 40 universe and the Age of Sigma for a while, what does Mrs. Nubicron think of your hobby? Does she participate in dabbling with the old Night Lords, or is she a strictly you don't play with your wee toys, wee
Yeah,
man?
she just sees it as it just takes up most of her kitchen covers. Wait, what are you on about? You're not interested in Warhammer, are you, babe? I like the paint colours. You like the paint colours, yeah, because you saw the Turbo Dork stuff.
So I'm going to ask Mrs. Nubicron a direct question, right? See when Mr. Nubicron goes, darling, I'm ready to go and do some painting. Like my wife, do you think, yes, he's going to start painting the house? Or do you actually, do you get yourself excited for those split seconds and he pulls out the tiny brushes and your heart sinks on a Saturday afternoon?
It would be nice if he started painting the house because we just moved house. But when he says painting, he's just sat at the kitchen table
Yeah,
with a tiny little brush on a little figure.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna get some of this painting seriously done tonight. Don't you worry, babe. I got you covered.
I've been I've been saying that for the last 2 years, and Mrs. Holmes is not is starting to her attention is starting to wear a bit thin. Her patience, sorry, starting to wear a bit thin.
To be
Attention is starting.
fair, it's like the only thing I think I have to worry about in the house is new stuff coming through the door and then immediately being questioned. Haven't you already had this before? Or
Yeah.
is it? How much did that one cost? How much were you thinking it was costing, babe? Yeah, just half of that. Like that. That's how much it cost. Yes. I think at one point there was like I had like boxes of spare sprues on top of the fridge. And I remember one day she was like looking, I can't remember, she was looking for some like tub to store fairy cake she just made or something. And I just heard this, and then heard, oh, for fuck's sake. And I was like, I'm going to move those to the shed. Like, it's not worth losing my ability to walk over keeping this in the kitchen any longer. Yeah, I won it in a comp. That's a good one, yeah.
Shame, I'm not that bad.
Not that bad. No, I just said you're not that bad.
It's
think
his money at the end of the day, not mine.
I think one of the things that annoys Mrs. Holmes towards Mr. Holmes here is that I sit in my armchair, my recliner chair, and I've got my fish tank, and then I've got my paints up there. So instead of actually like standing up and looking for my paints, I'll just start stretching and like randomly throwing things out, and then things start falling on top of me, and then Mrs. Holmes is not very happy at all.
That would make me off.
That must be a hell of a sight. Watching somebody not figuring out he could just stand up.
Every weekend something falls on top of me, like basing materials. It's raining Citadel paints and army paints on me. But it's like, and she's like, "You know, just stand up." I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing. And then, no, I don't. Like, there's controllers and batteries flying everywhere. Brilliant.
So I just noticed a comment there, that art by Tom Greenman, the classic, "Oh, I've had this for ages" comment. You could ask this on this one. That's the excuse I use because I have got far too many anime t-shirts. And like they were coming through the door at the point where I was like, I'm gonna have to start getting these sent to work. And then sneaking them back in and then saying I've had this for ages. But then the big fall down in my plan is that she does all the washing, so she's gonna know.
And ironing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where you need to start doing your own washing like I do. Like,
Yeah, she'll notice now though. If I suspiciously start doing all my own washing, she'll be like, "What's he for?"
Especially because we've just said it in front of her.
Nah. Yeah.
so
It's
when
all part
Mr.
of the rooms.
So when Mr. Nibicon is sitting having a wee painting session to himself, and he's feeling a bit parched in his throat, would he be a Diet Coke man or a Pepsi Max man?
Not neither of those, am I?
No, you're a Monster Energy man.
Yeah, Monster Energy, the old electric soup.
I like a Coke.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And if you're feeling a wee bit peckish, what would be your crisp of choice, and what crisp do you try and avoid?
Who's the
the miss is an expert on this.
I love crisps.
I'll have to predict this now. Like this happens on a regular basis. I leave painting here because she'll say we need milk, and I'll have to leave, and she'll be like, pick me up some crisps. And now I got a decision to make. Right, she's got about 6 go-to ones, and I have to pick the one without her knowing which one. If Beef Monster Munch is there, it's gonna be that one on top. Not the purple knickknacks. She let me buy her the purple knickknacks for about a year before informing me these are the wrong ones. I like the orange ones.
Rib and Spicy is the best knickknacks. Well, the cheesy ones were the best ones, but Rib and Spicy were amazing, man.
Yeah.
Max Paprika.
Yeah, Max. Oh, I miss Max Paprika.
Yeah, that's solid.
If I'm making a crisp sandwich, it's got to be What's-Its.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
do you put butter in your crisp sandwich, or is it just dry bread?
No,
that's the
butter. Who has dry bread? That's criminal.
Do you know what? You said I put butter in my crisp sandwich and have What's-Its in it. That image is stuck to the roof of my mouth, let alone eating it. I can feel
Quavers and salad cream, no.
right now.
Oh, Richard, you've just ruined it now. Quavers and salad cream.
Quavers and salad cream.
Roast chicken crisp with Philadelphia is good.
Jesus Christ.
You should try it before you mock that.
I like the old what they called those ones over there, the Walker's Sensation chili ones and the Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I miss the barbecue Walker's crisp. They should fucking bring them back.
Yeah,
they got rid of it.
Is that the black bag?
Yeah.
They were lush.
Yeah, they were pretty good. See, I'm boring with crisps. I just like really salty.
Yeah, you're a bit boring, man, really.
Me and Mrs. Holmes are going through what's it crunchy phase this now. Oh,
Do you
And
know
talking
you said about bring back barbecue walkers? I just figured of one to bring back, and everybody I talk to goes, "No, you're talking chatting rubbish. They never existed." So do you remember they did salt and vinegar quavers, and
oh
it
yeah,
had the
They
picture of
brought
the
them back
bulldog on
last
the
year.
front?
Wait a minute. What about puffs? Do you remember puffs? They're like the size of your little fingernail.
Are they the ones with the rabbit?
Yeah.
Yeah. The really cheap ones. Do you remember puffs?
What?
Don't
You
remember them.
break them down. It's like eating air
I'm gonna look this up.
or dust.
The salt and vinegar quavers, though, they brought them back like either last year or a year before. It was It was like around a lockdown time because they brought them and the prawn cocktail quavers back at the same time. I remember them.
Well, I missed that because I remember the old mascot was the little bulldog, and then at the same
Yeah,
time they got rid of they didn't have roast beef Monster Munch. They had flaming hot pickled onion, and they had spaghetti flavored Monster Munch. Do you remember
yeah,
those? They were
yeah.
weird.
They had spaghetti Monster Munch. They had ice
There you
cream
go.
Monster Munch for a bit.
there's
Puffs.
across I live in Ireland.
Bunny rabbits. They're
Oh.
not crap.
Because I live in Ireland, there's a
They're
crisp here
happy
called
smacks. You don't want them.
because I live in Ireland, there's this crisp here called Meanies. Jesus Christ, man, it's the strongest pickled onion crisp I've ever eaten in my life. But they're so delicious. So you put them in a sandwich, like your tongue's falling apart. That acidic. But
It's
amazing though.
yeah, it's kind of like eating a pack of salt and vinegar McCoys. You're like, wow, you've really redone this a few times. Like,
Yeah. No,
We were actually discussing that was actually mentioned on Sunday. Was
was yeah,
how,
yeah.
how much the salt and vinegar McCoys would just melt your face.
yeah. Well, I begin. I believe after a while, if you crossed a couple cans of Monsters with a couple bags of salt and vinegar McCoys, eventually your piss is going to start taking the paintwork off the toilet. So it's like it's to the point where it's just ridiculous.
All these people.
Don't in case.
Hello, Mrs. Nubicon. So right, so crisps, snacks, drinks.
That's done.
That's all done. Your tattoos. That was the other thing that we were going to bring up for you tonight because you're big on them.
Yeah, all over the shop. Yeah.
How many tattoos have you got in total?
Are you counting like one area?
I can strip them off to count them.
Yeah. Oi, steady.
So no, let's.
Wait, is it before 9 o'clock? We need to wait 20 minutes for the watershed. Old BBC
Yeah, you
One
gotta
will have
wait.
his band.
So no, I'm not counting one area. So like, if you've got a couple of individuals that make up a sleeve, count them separate. It's going to get you
I think
thinking now.
in total, I think it's probably about 18. I think in total.
Your favourite one's that one though, right? On your finger?
Oh yeah.
Go on then, show it off.
I got Amy's name done on my wedding band.
Oh.
Finger, 'cause I don't like wearing jewelry, so.
Well, I've actually got the same sort of thing, right? So me and my wife don't wear our wedding rings, so we decided to get our star signs, like each other's star sign, tattooed on our wedding fingers. Now my star sign is Taurus, which is a bull. Her star sign is Leo, and it looks like a fucking sperm.
Yeah.
It's like a what?
A sperm.
Oh my criminy, it does.
Yeah, and now that you can see that, you can't unsee the Leo star sign as a sperm.
I'll put it this way, because your camera went a bit glitchy for the first time. The left side looked like another copy of the right side, and I did think to myself, why is Dunk showing us a picture of a cock on his finger? Like,
It's a weird looking cock, mind you, but
yeah, I was gonna say that's Hitler's, isn't it? He's got one missing.
So I knew a bloke and his missus. They got their names tattooed on their ankles. He got her name, which was Anna. Sorry, you got her name's across what now?
I've got it here as well.
Oh, fair enough.
Cross his heart. Cross his heart.
It jumped on me and I thought you said cock. So I was like, hang on, what?
Imagine.
No, but
Fair enough.
We were gonna have one of the tattoos planned for the future is Sonic and Amy.
Oh,
I thought that was going to go weird there. For a split second, I had a vision of somebody getting their name tattooed on a private part, and then some inappropriate. That was just my mind going somewhere. That if this is where I was going, right, and I apologise in advance to anybody who's maybe offended what I'm about to say, right. So in my mind, right, my simple mind, I was visioning that you were getting the name Anna on your cock. So when she was blowing you, she was blowing herself, if that makes sense. Now that's just the way my little mind works. And I apologise to anybody who's taken offence to that. But that's just where my mind went there. Honestly, I'm so sorry I said that actually. I'll try and get that cut
Anna
out.
was Anna was the story I was saying. Amy's the name. So you've completely gone all over the place there, Don.
Yeah, that was it.
I'd be in serious fucking trouble if that was happening.
No, I was saying so this guy I knew had his girlfriend's name Anna on his ankle. But she didn't pick his first name, she picked his nickname, which was Fraggle. So when they split up, she was just like, yeah, I like Fraggle Rock, whereas he's still got to walk around with this girl's name on his fucking ankle like a twat. So yeah.
Yeah, just any time she enters the room. Down at Fraggle Rock.
You change it to banana, surely, though, and just say that the tattoo artist was dyslexic or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Change it to Spanner.
Yeah.
I like doing DIY,
Spanner,
some mad shit. So with your 18,
yeah.
I'm trying to listen to what she's saying.
broke up.
So with your 18, that you've got obviously the wedding ring tattoo thing, a beautiful little touch. What else are your favourites that you got?
My favourite is probably Rem on that. It's hard to show, but yeah, Rem is there. Out of my older tattoos, to be fair, when I first started getting tattooed, I generally stuck with like the boring sort of stuff, so I'd probably have those lasered off. The only one that I would probably keep out of my older ones is I've got a T-Rex skeleton here, and then on my back I've got a cover up. The first tattoo I ever had was some tribal dragon that me and a mate we were like, oh, let's get our first tattoo. Yeah, it'll be great. Should we go to a tattooist? No, of course not. We'll just go to this guy's house who says he's tattooing and he'll do it for like 40 quid. What can possibly go wrong? And I remember thinking at the time, that tattoo really, really hurt. Like, I know that tattoos are supposed to hurt, but that really hurt. And it wasn't until I saw like another tattoo artist where he was like, he goes, I reckon he's done that entire tattoo with the outline needle. So instead of using the shading, he was using like the actual thing. And I was like, please tell me you can do something with it. And he was like, well, luckily, because it is so bad, it's really faded. So what he did instead, I was like, all right, what sort of film do I want? And in the end, I had Predator covering it. So yeah, I quite like, but all my anime ones are like obviously my favorite ones. Martin Parker, who does all my tattoos recently, he in Stoke, he's amazing. Going to see him in a couple of days' time actually. Which I'm not sure what he's doing yet. I gave him a whole list of stuff that I want doing, so he's picking out of that. So it will be a surprise. He's given me an inkling of who it might be, who he thinks that he'd quite like to do. There was going to be some more Pokemon done.
Did you have any 40k tattoos? Sorry.
No. So I do what? So you know my logo on the screen, the Nightwolves logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was one that was drew by Alt Daggers on here. So he designed that for me, and I am gonna next time, like, we go to Liverpool semi regularly. Amy's got friends who live up in Liverpool, and then I'm a Liverpool supporter, so he's the middle one. So like whenever we get the opportunity to go up to Anfield or whatever, the other two weren't raised quite so well, and they both support Man City, but they so we go up there. So then I'm planning the next time we go up there, I'm gonna like message him like the week before and be like, "Can you?" Because he's a tattoo artist as well, obviously. And so,
Yeah.
if you're into like Warhammer tattoos, he does a more like classic style tattoo. But some of his Warhammer ones, there was one, and I was gutted I didn't get that one. Someone bought it. I don't know if you've seen this one. He's done Typhus from the Death Guard.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
That
That's really
tattoo
good. That
looks
one.
awesome. It looks so good. And he did a Skaven one the other day. But I'm kind of thinking, like, because I've got sort of a space in this area here and onto my hand, I'm thinking I'm going to get him to do the Night Lord head there. I wouldn't mind a Skaven one as well. Maybe someone like either Thankful or like Queek the Head Taker or whatever. But yeah, I haven't really had a lot of Warhammer ones done. The only time I ever commented on any Warhammer tattoos, I got in trouble, so I don't tend to do that.
I've got 3 nerd ones. I've got one more nerd one to get, and I've actually got a death guard on my right calf, and I've got the nerd ones going round my left leg.
Yeah. No, I wasn't taking it like. So I can explain. What happened when I got in trouble. I deleted the comment, apologized straight away. But I was just for context. Like everybody who's watching this video has already seen. I've got like anime, but I've got Pokemon and stuff. I clearly don't care what you got tattooed. But you know, do you remember Jake from Vanguard Tactics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got the Votan logo done, did he? Do you remember he had the Votan tattoo?
Yeah.
So he had that done, which I thought was quite cool. But I thought, I saw him like make a joke about something the week earlier. I was like, oh, this guy will be a laugh. So when he posted a picture of it, like people going, how much did that cost? And I commented saying, and it was clearly a joke. Like, and I explained this to people, it was clearly a joke. And I just commented on it saying, for anybody saying that tattoo was expensive, this guy's just saved a fucking fortune on condoms. So win's a win. And yeah, instantly, as soon as I commented, I was like, yeah, people aren't going to see that as a joke, are they? And I was like, right, I can't delete that. But yeah, it's yeah. I would like some Warhammer tattoos. Like I quite like. I'm getting into like Spire Gix at the minute as well, so I wouldn't mind like some of those. But yeah, it's hard finding. Like I think he's got like the right style for it as well. Those ones that he's done, there's that Typhus one, like I said, was crazy cool. The Orc one he did the other day was really good. Yeah, I think I'll to get a Warhammer one, I'm going to wait for him to do the Night Lords logo. But yeah, it's all dependent. Like it depends when I go up there because he designed that logo, so it's probably best to get him to tattoo that. To be fair.
I think as well, it's finding that tattoo artist as well. Like my very first tattoo I got was Yosemite Sam. Now I went into my right, the horror story of my first tattoo. I had a bet with a girl that if she got a tattoo, then I would get a tattoo. So she went and got a tattoo of what she wanted. And I was a big Marvin the Martian fan. Still am when I was a child. Still am as a big fat guy. So I went into the tattoo artist that she got her tattoo, which was like panther paws. It was like in the late 90s, everybody get panther paws and all over them for some daft reason. And I went into the guy and I said, look, I want to get a Marvin the Martian. And he's like, who? And I was like, oh, the Looney Tunes character. And he went, oh, I don't know how to do that, but I'll do Yosemite Sam. And basically that's what happened.
Yeah, I love that. I've got an idea of what I want, and the tattoo artist completely just dismisses you and goes, "Well, here's what you're having."
Yeah, I can't do him. I can do Yosemite Sam though, and I was like, okay.
Yeah,
I'm a man of my word.
I think everybody that first tattoo experience is kind of like you're at the will of the tattoo artist at that point. And like I know some people are like I messaged the other day because I had an idea for one that I kind of wanted like Goku and Chi-Chi from the first Dragon Ball series when they're riding on the Nimbus, and I kind of wanted it in that area there where I've got space there. And I did message Martin saying like that was one of the ideas I'd had, but I said it might be the first time ever that I actually request that I use numbing cream because it's right in the elbow ditch. And he just sent me back a message saying, "Who said who has given you the thought that you're allowed to use numbing cream in my presence?" I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Guess we're just gonna sit through it then."
Was the
Yeah, we're not doing that one
was the
next.
Nimbus not the name of the ship in Futurama as well?
Don't know. I don't know. Look it up.
Maybe.
Is that Brannigan's ship?
Just
Is that
about remember.
Nimbus? Sounds familiar. I've never watched Dragon Ball or Dragon, whatever it's called.
Yeah, the original Dragon Ball is fucking great.
The Planet Express ship named Old Bessie.
No, like Captain Zach Brannigan, he had his warship. I'm pretty sure that was called the Nimbus.
I don't know. Look at Future. Yeah, the Nimbus is a large capital ship with its own hangar. Yeah, it was.
There you go.
I feel
Sorry.
like JD
Brilliant
from Joe
knowledge to it.
Rogan's podcast.
So,
anything else we need looking up?
Nah, get off Google. You're fine.
Oh,
You're okay, young James. Don't worry.
Can you Google tattoo artists that can do Marvin the Martian? I would. It's 27 years later. I think I need to get Marvin the Martian. No.
Yeah, we'll just get you on one now. Nah.
Yeah, that's it. Brought a guest on to talk about his tattoos, but let's talk about Marvin the Martian for 20 minutes.
Just walks in with some ultra creased receipt. Like, this was not what I paid for.
I've considered my rights under the Consumer Rights Act, and you fucked me over.
Yeah. You have done me right over here.
So, your Cubone one.
Yeah.
You got. Cubone has always been a standout favourite Pokemon of mine, and I said we'd get onto Pokemon. You commented on my starter picks the other day. You had a pop at me. I did notice that. Yeah. So, out of all the generations of Pokemon, what's yours? What's your favourite? First gen. And what was your starter?
First is definitely my favourite gen. And it there is no right or wrong answer which is the best gen. Like, it is always going to be the same with everything. It's what you had that childhood connection with. First gen is where I started. That's always going to be my favourite. I've got really fond memories of playing Pokemon Silver and Gold as well. I thought the Pokemon on that were great. I remember thinking that Milk Tank was well overpowered at the time in the game. That rollout move, like, if he got that off more than 3 times, that's it. Any Pokemon that comes out, he's just instantly destroyed. But yeah, like, to be fair, so I'm lucky in the way that my boys. Firstly, I'm lucky I got 3 boys. Secondly, I'm lucky they do like nerdy stuff as well. Like, so the oldest one, he was really like, they've got so many Pokemon cards, it's ridiculous. And I don't know the value of Pokemon cards anymore, and they do, and it's really depressing. But yeah, they got me to play the most recent version, Pokemon Scarlet, and I played Pokemon Scarlet. I played of the recent ones, played Pokemon. Was it Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond?
Yeah.
That was really good. Pokemon Sword and Shield. That's a 50-50 for me. I liked the open world part of it. I thought that was great. But just adding all those food Pokemon put me off slightly. You had a Pokemon that was literally a cake. I didn't like that much. But no, for me, it's the first 2 generations are definitely my favorite. I actually recently rewatched the original Pokemon series, and then I watched it up to. The only reason I really started watching it again was I wanted to watch the Orange Islands part because I haven't seen that in years. Where Brock leaves and Tracy comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that. I watched Orange Islands recently. That was a blast from the past because I haven't seen that in ages. But yeah, definitely the first 2 series of if I had to pick either one, it would be first, really closely followed by the second one.
Do you remember your squad that took the Elite Four on and beat them for the first time, including Dickhead Gary?
Yeah. So mine was So the first time I played it through, I went through with Squirtle. So it would have been Blastoise. I had one of the legendary birds, and I'm pretty sure it was Articuno I had in there because I chucked him in there because the dragons as the fourth guy. Gengar I had it in my team because I'd traded with a mate and then I got Gengar back. Then who was the other ones? I've got this weird feeling that Kingler was in it. You know,
Okay.
the evolved form of Krabby, and I think it was.
Yeah.
I mainly put him in because he had that guillotine move that rarely hit, but when it did hit, it was a one
hit kill.
shot
Yeah.
kill. And as snoffy as this sounds, I actually had two of the starters in my team because when I first got it, me and my brother both had Game Boys. So being the older brother, naturally, I made him start his game over like 3 times so I could have all the starters. So I'm pretty sure I had Charizard in the team as well, but like obviously Blastoise was way more powerful at that point. But yeah, it was when you got to catch Mewtwo for the first time in that game. It's like, right, well, this is just my squad now, just Mewtwo on his own. I think what really did separate the men from the boys is, did you use the missing no cheat?
On my first playthrough, yeah.
Yeah,
But I was like,
and it ruins your save.
yeah, absolutely batters year. And I did it because everyone I was playing with in school at the time had also done it
Yeah.
and maxed all their stats out. So playing normally, you couldn't touch them. So the only way you could do it was, let's max everything out. Let's get everything up. Let's go toe to toe with them. And then it was just a case of whoever hit first won.
Yeah. I remember doing the 100 rare candy things, and then a mate of mine, I remember thinking, that guy's a flipping genius. He goes, you do realise you could have done that with a Master Ball as well, just to let you know. I walked away, and I remember thinking, that guy's a legend. Why didn't I? Why did I think of that? I could have just caught anything I wanted, like by not doing that and just taking the Master Ball there. But the Pokemon, the first time I did a team, like as an adult playing, like so it would have been. It wasn't on Pokemon. It wasn't on Pikachu Let's Go, although I have done that one as well. It was on when they did the reboot of the first edition, so Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Mm-hmm.
So my ultimate team I put together then, where I just put my favourite Pokemon in. So I had Charmander because I never let him evolve. I had Haunter because I prefer Haunter to Gengar, hence why he's there. I had Cubone. One of my all-time, I believe, underrated Pokemon ever, Pinsir. So Pinsir was in it, and Zapdos because I really like Zapdos as well.
Zapdos was the best bird. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, just any Pokemon that had Thunder was like prime Pokemon that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually, bringing Pokemon and tattoos together. One of the ideas that we did have, because in the list of, so I've got a list of like main characters that I want, and they're the big pieces that I want doing, and then I've got a list of like smaller bits like that go in filler areas, like the Pokemon with like filler areas. So I've got Caterpie on there just because it's a classic, but I did put Pinsir on there, and then Martin came up with an idea. He said, "What about instead of just having Pinsir?" What about having Pinsir in that scene in Viridian City where he's like trying to crush Metapod in his claws? I was like, that's a really good idea. That's really cool. Yeah, I love those early episodes. The one with Pinsir in. Metapod messes up a Pinsir. Who'd have thought?
There's just a certain charm of it all, weren't there? Like when it first come out and you were watching SMTV Live on a Saturday morning, although like Ant and Dec doing the rap was a bit cringe, like just because you were into it and you're like, I know about this. Oh, this one's in the episode and stuff. And I don't understand why they make Clefairy OP, but
I remember asking for like VHS tapes for Christmas so that when Pokemon was on in the morning, I would literally because on Sky, if it was on Sky 1, it would come on at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'd rush down at 5:45, push the VHS in, record the episode before I went to school, just eating cereal, be like, yes, I've got them all. And yeah, I just had like loads of VHS tapes up on the shelf just with it was all Pokemon, and then properly nerdy as well, Robot Wars. All just Pokemon, Robot Wars, and The Simpsons. That's all. Well, the bloody cat's in now as well.
Robot Wars was great though. Can you say it's
Yeah, the
nerdy?
original. Yeah, the original.
I can't remember the
first
name.
couple of seasons. The first couple of seasons of Robot was like creme de la creme.
Yeah,
It was perfect.
first series was Jeremy Clarkson, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the first series, it was like, if you would, I remember watching it back along the other day, like some of the highlights, and I was like, hold on, if this first series robots went into like series 4, they would be absolutely battered like in a minute. Because like, I think the one that won the original series was that Roadblock one. It was just a wedge. It was made out of the stock
closed.
line. Yeah, but then obviously talking local claims to Robot Wars and local links. Obviously, the guy who made Cassius 2, the one that did the first ever flip, I think he's fairly local. And the guy who do you remember the robot called Wheelie Big Cheese?
Yes.
He literally works with Amy's stepdad, I think. That guy. So yeah, there's quite a few of them around here that have like competed. I try to get people when they release a new series. I was like, "Come on, work! Let us use the workshop to make one. It'd be really good." And they were like, "Yeah, but they insist on filming where you make it, like little mug shots and stuff like that. Like, yeah, there's military equipment. No, it's not happening." I was like, "Oh." And they were like, I think at one point it was a case of, yeah, we don't think it's a great idea to pull active engineers away from active MOD projects and put them on your little weird Robot Wars thing. I just don't think that's cost effective.
I don't know, you could have gotten a decent flamethrower.
Yeah. That was, speaking of that, Sergeant Bash having a flamethrower was A, one of the greatest things, but B, simultaneously the most useless thing in Robot Wars. It never did anything. Like, it was really dependent on that one Irish robot to show up wearing fur. Like, that was it.
that Irish robot with that like pink or purple fur and eyes.
Yeah. With the
big bug eyes on it. Yeah.
But I remember the one game changer in Robot Wars for me. One of the big step ups where it's like, oh my god, this is a game changer, and it blew your mind a little bit because as a kid you kind of thought, yeah, Matilda's got a chainsaw, that's bound to be good. But when they replaced her chainsaw tail with that flywheel, that like heavy car flywheel, Jesus, that used to rip things apart. Like that was crazy watching that. I remember.
I think for me it was when you seen one of the first house robots get like toppled.
Oh,
I think it was maybe.
Oh yeah.
And then the house robot crew are going to have to up their game, and then they come out with Sir Kill-A-Lot and fucking like
again talking about underrated.
Johnny Five from fucking Short Circuit. Do you know what I mean? With fucking shooting laser beams. Do you know what I mean? That's all that was missing.
I always thought the most underrated house robot was Shunt. Because he wasn't necessarily the most interesting, but he got the most work done. Like he was the work rate in that squad.
That was the pincery one with the chain, the blade that come down.
Dead metal. The Shunt was the axe one with the bulldozer blade.
Oh, yeah.
Who was just he just had massive grip and he could just push things around like non-stop. He was sort of peak house robot.
That was one of the things I noticed when they relaunched it. Like there was a couple of them that had that sort of pickaxe into it.
Yeah.
And they were wrecking stuff in there. Like you see the pickaxe fly down and they're flipping after it and shit because of the amount of hydraulic pressure in it. But
did you see the obviously there was that competitor called Carbide, the one that had the spinning blade that was so powerful it had that what they nicknamed the death hum. Did you see that episode where it hit one of the competitors' robots and it sent a shard of it flying and it punched through the first layer of the bulletproof glass? And it was like, I think we're going to have to, everybody in the crowd sit 3 rows back. It
was like any TV show when it first came out, even like Strap Heat Challenge, it was a bit of a laugh. People, it was like geeky older men in their sheds with their sons or their grandsons. And then before you knew it, season 4 had arrived, and it was like a team of engineers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who had like PhD rocket science degrees taking on the and like attacking the house robots at points. Do you know what I mean? It just got a wee bit too serious for itself, but it was still good. Like it was kind of like early days Games Master, kind of like that,
Yeah.
or Crystal Maze with Richard O'Brien. I love that.
So funny enough, me and the missus had our anniversary recently, and we did an escape room. We just sort of stayed because we didn't have the kids. We just booked like a cheap travel lodge and stayed in there for the night because we couldn't be bothered to drive back after the escape room. And we did this escape room, and it was basically we've done pretty much every escape room at that one place now, and it was a Fallout themed one, which was quite cool. And we went back to the hotel. My miss was and like the next day we woke up and we're like, oh, we ain't got to pick the kids up for a while. It's late checkout, so we'll just stay here. And I was flicking through the channels, and I flicked onto Dave's Scrap Heap Challenge was on it, and I said, and I swear by this, society has been going downhill since they stopped making Scrap Heap Challenge. In my opinion, like that was the point. Because I remember being a kid and thinking, I can think of nothing greater than being let loose to build some mental machine like this. But now there's nothing like that, isn't it? There's nothing on TV that compares. I was like half tempted to like jump on Pirate Bay or something, download every episode and be like, boys, we're having a family bonding session.
See, I've done that recently with Takeshi's Castle because the lad discovered the new Gladiators, so I was showing him like some of the old stuff, and I was sitting there like, no, Takeshi's Castle is so much better, and I made him sit there and watch like 10 episodes of it in a row on YouTube.
Yeah,
and it had him from the moment you've got the 100 people trying to jump through the fake doors and they're just bouncing off them and shit, and he was gone. He was in hysterics, and I was like, yes, you're definitely mine.
That's the thing about Japanese. It's like somebody was just like the health. You'd never get away with that in the UK. Like there would be some health and safety officer just come straight away. It kind of reminds me of what that is it the Australian comedian called Steve Hughes, and he was saying about health and safety over here. And he said, you go to Holland, he said, or the Netherlands, he said, you'll have a road, a bike path, and a river. Is there a fence? No. He said, if this was the UK, there'd be 6-foot fences, signs saying don't go in the water. He said, in the Netherlands, he goes, is your bike wet? Yeah. Well, you're on the wrong bit then. But yeah.
Sure, when they did Total Wipeout in the BBC, they had to take them to Argentina just to film the episodes because. But like one of my favorite games in Takeshi's Castle. Well, we had two. Bridge ball was one where the guys would just get smacked in the face with the balls and they had to cross the bridge with a ball, and the other one was the honeycomb maze, and it was like the sheer fear of bumping into the other, like the big gladiator type guys, especially the American guy who would then just like one-time them into the water.
What about like the Japanese like prank shows, and like one of the classic like sort of memes kind of stems from that, just that like the Japanese and these like hidden camera prank shows, they're just so good at it. Have you ever seen the one, and there's that, like everyone recognizes the meme of the Japanese guy pulling the funny face, but if you actually watch the video where that came from, where it's basically two guys in a smoking room, like they're smoking out their cigarettes, and all of a sudden like 100 people come in and all start sparking up, and all of a sudden this guy is just getting, like the room's getting filled with smoke, and the guy's like really struggling to breathe. Or there'll be that one where like there's a guy walking down an alleyway, and all of a sudden like 100 people at each end with baseball bats walk at each end. There was one
where they got into a guy's bedroom and took him out of his house, and like at 4 a.m, they're walking him down the high street and stuff in his bed. They're carrying him down the street, and he's still asleep. Christ knows out, but they've ended up dumping him in the river or something. And it's like, how have you fucking done that?
And
The
What,
only,
and,
the
what
only
do, and what do you get in Britain? You get Michael McIntyre invading your room at
Oh.
3 a.m, and your room's pristine because your wife knows that they're coming.
well, the only British TV show that was anything like that, I'd say you still wouldn't get away with now, is Balls of Steel. Do you remember
Yeah,
that? Yeah,
yeah. Me and my mates were talking about that the other day.
And Nedge's Urban Sports was always a highlight for me.
Yeah,
But I don't think you get away with half the stuff that Jeremy Beadle did either. Just
No.
like he proper
No.
triggered people. I remember the one where he got a duplicate of this guy's work van and fucked it in a river, and the guy
yeah.
was losing the actual plot, ready to start killing like
They-
workies and all that. I don't think you get away with that now, but yeah, see like Ned's Urban Sports, where he was like, "Come on, fatty!" He had to go to Burger King, and that's
Well,
where
the-
that's where Dirty Sanchez came from as well. Mind
yeah,
the two boys,
Payneman,
to
yeah.
Dirty Sanchez.
Nedge's Urban Sports. One of my favourite highlights for them was the one where it's like Nedge's Urban Sprinting, where he takes his own tag into a shop, sets the alarm off, and sees if he
Right.
can outrun the security guards. And then there was another one. It was like Nedge's Urban Rodeo.
Yeah,
Literally,
yeah.
just find a tall person, jump on his back, and see how long he can stay on for. Like, just some of them, and the annoying devil as well. Imagine that being on TV now. Like,
Yeah.
literally, his jokes. Like, the best joke he ever did was probably one of the most simple ones I've ever seen. Where there's a golf course, like loads of blokes, obviously taking golf really seriously, and they're right on the green next to the hole. And all of a sudden, you see the annoying devil run in with a bucket in his hand, and you think, "What's he doing?" And he literally just tips the bucket, and it's like 100 golf balls.
On the one where he was giving out umbrellas, but on top of the
Oh
umbrellas
yeah,
that had messages.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They were great. Yeah, some
But
of those.
my mates, the other Channel 4 TV show that we used to love, and I think Channel 4 was like a pinnacle of like TV shows you would never get away with. The Word was like was like our thing at
Yeah.
school. You loved the Word, like the wannabes where they would like lick. Like,
I'd do anything to be on telly.
I would do anything to be on telly, like drinking a glass of salt water, spewing in it, and then drinking the spew.
Guy,
Or
guy cut his pubes off and ate him on a cream cracker.
yeah,
Oh my god!
That's
and then you had
like early 90s at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock in the afternoon that was on.
no, it was 10 o'clock at night
No, I swear
because it was
it
always
was on earlier than that. I swear bits of it were on earlier that. I remember watching it and like coming home from school at one point.
maybe a dad had a big VCR, maybe a Eurotrash at the same time. Him and your mum were watching Eurotrash
The only
because
thing
you
I
also had
remember,
you had
Loads.
Banzai as well. Remember Mr. Shaky Hand Man and the guy that would ask one question to like film stars and just stand there with a microphone.
It's
the
the
only thing
one
I
question,
remember from '90s Channel 4 was Zig and Zag.
yeah. Big Breakfast was elite. That was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And I remember seeing watching something back, and like, there's all these sort of urban like legends in it, and like, when people are like, "Oh, did you know Tom Hardy was on Big Breakfast?" And you're like, "No, he wasn't." Look at him, you're like, "How the hell he was as well? He was on Big Breakfast. He was one of the contestants on Big Breakfast." It's so weird. Like, what are the odds in that happening?
It's like Johnny Vegas was on a TV program, and my two of my daughters live in St Helens studying, and they were giving us like they just talk piss about St Helens all the time. And then I was watching the darts, and your darts player Michael Smith was on, and Rosie was like, my youngest daughter was like, "Oh, like he lives around the corner from me," and I'm like, "You have lived in St Helens for the last fucking 4 years," and I was like, "And who else is famous from St Helens?" She went, "Oh, see your man Johnny Vegas. He drinks in the pub that I work in." I was like, you have lived in St Helens like for 4 years now. Tell me all this useless stuff. You don't tell me that the guy from Benidorm and the Tetley Tea adverts and fucking all these TV shows, Monkey goes to the pub that you work in. Oh, I never thought. You never thought.
We have so the locals round here. Obviously, Johnny Depp has just bought a house not that far away. Charles Dance used to live over in Chard because everyone used to see him walk his dog quite a lot. He seemed to never not be doing that. Craig Charles used to live over this way as well. I never met Craig Charles, and I always thought I would like to meet Craig Charles. And then one of my mates was like, I said, oh, didn't Craig Charles used to live in China? He's like, yeah, I saw him in the kebab. He's a bit of a knob, if I'm honest. He was like, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Ruined that dream for me. But yeah, there's quite a few over this way because it's obviously like really quiet out this way. So the southwest is just, you'll get villages where you go in, you're like, yes, I clearly am not of a financial class that I could ever live here. Like,
Yeah.
there are a few places like that.
Yeah. Cool. Right. Well, mate, I'm conscious that it's now 9:15. We've been chatting away for donkeys, and it's been an absolute dream to chat to you. You've been blinding. Thank you very much for supporting our channel. You're on like most weeks chatting shit to us in the chat or chatting shit at us. And you know what? We appreciate it. We love you for it, and we thank you for it. So keep on doing that. Just to wrap up then, just because I'm mindful of the time and, you know, everything going on. If anyone has been watching us tonight, doesn't follow you, where can they find you and on what formats?
It's pretty much just Instagram at the moment. It's just at Nubricon. You can find me on there. But like, so basically this year I've got like plans to do a gaming board. And because the missus and that, like, we love going to like National Trust, and like obviously around here there's loads of them, and because we go on holiday to Wales quite a bit, obviously all the best castles in Wales. So the kind of idea for I'm going to start the YouTube channel along with the book reviews, so I will keep you posted when that goes live. But the whole idea for the hopefully when this year settles down, is to be doing the build of the board and mixing it in with a bit of visiting some of these National Trust sites and taking inspiration from there. So that will be the channel at that point. So hopefully you're going to get a lot of drone footage and stuff whilst doing it. So we get decent looks of the actually include a bit of history in the videos and why I'm including them in the board as well. But yeah, that's probably going to be a month or so before that launches. So until then, it'll just be on here. Yeah, I'm not. I haven't got that much of a work ethos when it comes to being a social media person. So I keeping Instagram going is like hard enough. Some days I just look at it and I go, oh, I'm just going to shut it down because I can't be bothered to post anything anymore. It does get to a point sometimes where you're posting stuff and you're like, and people like it and they'll message you about it and you're like, now I feel inclined like I've got to do this. Like, but yeah, no, thanks for like having me on and everything. It's a bit it's good to see like that you've had on this channel. You've had people who are like pretty well known and just anybody you wanted to pull on, which is good to see. Because I know the other week you had one of my personal favourites on, which is Sam Terror. He's a guy who I stumbled across completely by accident on YouTube. Like I was like, and the bit I liked about him is I actually disagree with him on a lot of stuff, and then he explains it, and I go, you know what, this guy's earned himself another view on another video. And then I just ended up watching like pretty much everything he did. I really like that guy. Yeah, you've had quite a few people on that I quite like. It was interesting seeing Graham McNeil on.
Yeah,
that was an interesting one. You just have to now try and blackmail ADB or Guy Haley or someone on. That'd be good.
Yeah,
I think one of them lives in Ireland, so I'm going to find his address and just go up and tap his door. And John French has actually liked a couple of my posts recently that he's put up and I've put stupid comments in, and he's like that. I'm going to reach back to Graham McNeil and see if he'll come on for a year's anniversary. Peachy says he might come back on the next month or two as well. So
yeah,
we're still
was good.
we're
Yeah, I like it. Yeah,
and you know what? Really nice. Even thinking like your project, your table build and stuff, you know, we always say to people, we'd love to have you back on again because this has been such a natural flowing chat for us tonight.
I feel like we didn't. Yeah, I feel like it flowed a little too well. We didn't actually talk too much about Warhammer. To be fair, we spent we probably dedicated a good 15 minutes to crisps, to be honest. But but like even some of the people you've had on before, I didn't even know who they were. And then I know you had that Leafy.
Leafy Decays.
And she did the when I looked on her page, she had an awesome range of like these sort of jungle looking Tyranids, and I was like, that is such a cool scheme. That really nice. But yeah,
and that's what we try and do with the Inquisition. We try and get on like people that don't have a lot of followings, or when I try and add folk, I try and add folk that a lot of people that I don't follow.
Mhm.
So it's in a bit
Yeah.
of variety. So when we do reach out to them, then it is that is something different. Like for example, I keep banging back to Forge of Runes, but
Yeah.
like when he came on, a lot of people didn't know about him or his hobby. Like he does cosplay and he does
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
the made up battles and all that. And I think he was quite well received, and that's just the way we try and get this thing running. But we would definitely love to have you
Yeah,
back on. And
Yeah.
even if it's not you and it's Mrs. Nibicron, we'll happily have her on as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Most people do that. They end up starting talking to me, and then they just end up talking to her for ages because she will. I've always said to her, she's missed her calling in life as an interrogator. She'll end up talking to you, and then by the end of the conversation, she'll come back. She'll know your shoe size, your favorite color, the last 3 job places you worked at. It's just ridiculous. And I go, you've only been taught. I genuinely true story. I went to go replace my phone once, so I broke my phone. They said take it to the EE shop. She gets chatting to this guy and girl that worked in there, and they were chatting about just everything but my phone. And I got to the point where I was like, he like completely didn't talk to me at all. So in the end, I just walked behind his desk and filled out my details on his computer. And then he goes, right, so should we fill your details? I went, I've already done it, mate. Like, we've already done it. But yeah, it is good seeing a good vary come through. I'll have to see what she says to doing that. We can put some Warhammer quiz to her, see what her opinions on certain matters are.
We're always on the lookout for a female Inquisitor anyway, so
Maybe we should just have
There's plenty of
all of
them
our
about
misses
at the
on
minute.
there.
There's, but you saying about you try and follow ones that you don't normally follow yourself. Oh, it's the cat that scared the hell out of me. I saw one of the coats moving. I thought it was possessed. It was a cat. But like for instance, it is good to show like how following people that you don't normally follow yourself benefits you is probably one of the main reasons I got back into 40k in 8th edition was partly because my brother bought me just for Christmas as a sort of joke present. He bought me some easy to build plague marines, and then that sparked my interest in one channel on YouTube that almost nobody's heard of. When I speak to people, nobody's heard of him. He's got a fair decent following, but he's incredible. It's Grim Resolve. He's
Okay.
he's a Geordie guy. He does like back reps, and if you follow him on Instagram, his painting is genuinely top tier painting as well. He's so good, and it was a mixture between like I know everybody knows Winters, everybody knows Liam Dempsey, all those big ones. I don't generally watch theirs as much, but yeah, Grim Resolve I watched a lot of. I don't watch the other ones because I don't get time to watch the live streams, and I feel like that's when all the chat goes on. So then you miss a big part of it. But yeah, Grim Resolve and Voldemort, I think, were the two that really got me back into playing it again.
We'll have to look them up. Dunk.
Yeah, Grim Resolve, definitely. I
Definitely.
don't know how active Grim Resolve is anymore. Like, you'd have to have a look. But I saw him post the other day. But another incredible bit about Grim Resolve's back reps is he's got this awesome guitar riff at the beginning of his videos, and he actually played that guitar riff. It's a nice touch as well. But yeah, there's plenty of good ones out there. 2 Plus Tough is another one that I watched a lot of. But yeah, the problem is just having the time to watch all these
Yeah.
people. Like
Yeah.
I look at how often Valrak goes live and how long he was in the chat earlier. Or I saw him pop up Warpgate Studios. That guy seems to start 50 bloody live streams every single day. Like he's on every like.
I wake up to like 10 alerts that he's gone live through the night, and it's
Yeah,
like, hang on, mate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you getting paid for sponsorship here or something? Like, what?
Yeah, again, Nibicon, thanks very much for coming on. We do appreciate you giving up your time.
No,
And
no
Mrs.
worries.
Nibicon for putting in some crisp sandwich ideas as well. I'm always looking for a new
Philadelphia.
crisp sandwich idea.
She's
But not
she's more of an expert on crisps than me. Definitely, I'll give her that.
folks, we're back on Sunday with Elements of Power. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah, we're back on Sunday with Elements of Power, and then I'll be putting up a story after tomorrow of our March lineup. We are having a bit of an issue with our YouTube just now, so we are a bit behind where our videos going on, but all the videos will be updated as soon as possible, folks. Thanks again for joining. Last words to you, Casey.
No, I've just had a warning message on my phone come up saying my battery's going to die. But no, nothing else. Again, just thanks for coming on, Shane. Absolute pleasure to chat to you, mate. And we'll definitely have to have you on again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries.
Yes, folks.
Call it there then. Cheers, guys. Catch you all later. Toodaloo.
Bye.